before we begin off, let me request Miss Rita to give us an opening prayer, then we shall get the ball rolling. Thank you very much. Rita, please give us the opening prayer.
Thank you, us with your spirit and give us courage to speak and to be able to
Rita, we've lost you. Seems we've lost you. We don't hear anything. Rita?
Hello?
Yes, we've not heard anything. Do you mind praying for us again?
Okay. Sorry about that. I think I lost you. Lord Jesus, we come before your presence with nothing but gratitude in our hearts. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of today. We want to commit this webinar into your hands. We ask you to be with us and to give us the strength that we may be able, and the wisdom that we may be able to grasp whatever is going to be presented. We ask you to guide us and send us your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' mighty name we pray with thanksgiving.
Amen. Thank you very much, Rita, for that prayer. Dear members on call, please allow me to welcome you to this webinar organized by Isaka Kampala chapter under the theme Combined Assurance, an Effective Approach to Value Addition. We are so honored that you spared some time to join us as we learn and sharpen ourselves professionally. Please allow me to welcome in a special way our speaker for the day, Ms. Ruth Doreen Mutebe, and the moderator, Mr. Kefa Tusubira. Our speaker and moderator, please allow me to say a few briefs about you. Yes, the speaker, we have today kickstarted my career in internal auditing. That's about 10 years ago when I was still a fresh graduate from university. And I'm always honored to host you anytime I have the opportunity. And at the same time, the moderator we have on call today also ignited the spark for the IT audit career in me. So I'm very thankful to the moderator and to the speaker for whatever they have been able to do in my life as an individual and to the many out there. Internal assurance providers are presented by oversight functions that may include areas such as risk management, compliance and quality assurance, and internal audit. These form what is commonly referred to as the second and third lines of defense. True combined assurance presents the ultimate level of coordination, including such elements as combined scheduling, consolidated planning and reporting, shared terminology, and the use of common and shared technology. By attending this webinar, you'll gain valuable insights on how to develop an effective framework that works for all assurance functions to add value to the organization's governance, risk management, and compliance aspects, all what we call GRC. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the moderator for the day, who will in turn introduce our speaker. Our moderator for the day is none other than Mr. Kefa Tusubila, who is a certified information systems auditor with post-professional experience of 14 years. He has extensive practical experience. He has extensive practical experience and skills in information technology management and auditing, that is internal and external, of institutions of all categories, IT risk management, technical audit, internal control development, forensic examination, business continuity management, and IT project management. He is an accomplished IT management advisor, stroke auditor, a tested systems analyst, and risk manager. He is the former director of certification at Isaka Kampala chapter, that is from 2018 to 2021, and currently a member of the education committee. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. Kefa Tusubila for you. And Going forward, allow me to hand over to Mr. Kefa to take us to the next session. Mr. Kefa, please take us away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Chikuye, for speaking to us and reaching us from wherever you are, very far away, thousands of miles away. Okay, thanks for the wonderful introduction out there you put up. And before I waste a lot of time, let's dig into the bio of who is our speaker today. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of ISACA. Our speaker today is Miss Doreen Ruth Mutebe. Okay. Doreen Ruth is a certified internal auditor, a qualified accountant, a certified director, senior bank with non-executive director and chief of audit experiences. Acknowledged as an effective leader with strategic vision at senior corporate levels. She is a respected speaker on the internal auditing, corporate governance, risk management, quality assurance, and financial management. Doreen Mutebe is also a trainer certified by the Institute of Internal Auditors, Florida, USA, and a graduate of advanced leadership from the Wharton School of Executive Education, USK, and Creative Media, England. Our speaker today is currently the chairperson of African Federation of the Institutes of Internal Auditors Governing Council. She also holds different non-executive advisory trusteeships roles at both private and public sector institutions, and she is currently the head of internal audit at Umeme Uganda Limited. Individually, Ruth Doreen Mutebe has trained me to be who I am. I've attended quite a number of classes, both in auditing and risk management, in which she was a facilitator. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our speaker of the day, Miss Doreen Ruth Mutebe. Doreen, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kefa, for the kind introduction. And kindly confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you audibly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Kefa. And I'm glad that we have interacted before in the several trainings that you have spoken about. And to John, it is a pleasure. I remember those many years ago when we started working together, and I saw the potential that you had. And I am particularly not disappointed with the successes that you have achieved, but that is not the end. There is still more that you can do. And from where I sit, I don't think you have even attained 50% of the potential that you have. So please keep soaring high. I appreciate ISACA for the invitation to come and speak to the members on the call. Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on the time zone that you're calling in from. And I appreciate ISACA for being a long-time and supportive partner of the IIA in Uganda, at the Africa level, and also at IIA Inc. or IIA Global, if we may want to call it that. So I appreciate the relationship, I appreciate the partnership, And I am glad that we are still on this course, and I'm looking forward to many good things ahead for all of us as a profession, as assurance providers, as Uganda, as Africa, and as the world all around. So I was invited and I was requested by John on the call to speak about an effective approach to value addition, and picking this from the perspective of combined assurance. So I put together a few thoughts that I would be sharing with you, probably in the 1 hour plus that has been given to us, or even shorter than that. But as I approach this subject of combined assurance, in my mind, I am not restricting it to only internal auditors, because I know that assurance providers go beyond just internal audit. So kindly confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, Doreen, we can see it very well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So today I will be speaking to a few things. On the agenda, just an introduction to combined assurance. And I prefer calling it aligned assurance because it's not just putting things together, but making sure that what we do is actually aligned to the aspirations of the organizations that we work for. So in some of the slides, you'll be seeing me referring to it as aligned assurance or combined assurance, or something close to that. I will speak to the benefits of this combined assurance. What is the journey that we can take, or the steps that we can go through to implement aligned assurance within our organizations? And then I'll speak a little bit to the approaches to effective or successful aligned or combined assurance, as well as value addition. And then I have just one slide that is speaking to how we can assess our own maturity in terms of aligned or combined assurance, and then we'll conclude and call it a day after having some discussion. So in terms of just the introduction, is that the concept of combined assurance is not new. It has existed for over a decade, but I guess we are discussing it today because it has not been as effectively embedded as expected, or as compared to the age of the concept. And the adoption of combined assurance beyond the basic level or the basic understanding is not yet widespread, and therefore the conversations that we are having here and in other forums about combined assurance. But also, we will notice that irrespective of the fact that all assurance providers are working towards a common goal, which is giving assurance to our respective organizations, to the management, to the board, to the directors, and all the governance persons within the organizations, we still work in silos as assurance providers. So you'll find internal audit or audit working alone, compliance function working alone, the legal practitioners working on their own, risk management is on its own. And at the end of the day, we realize that we are bringing in reports, or we are bringing in results that may not be speaking to each other, or that may be leading to duplication of effort. And then the other thing that I would like us to take note of, or just remind ourselves, is that for the internal auditors, combined assurance or coordination is a requirement of the International Professional Practices Framework, and specifically that is Standard 2050, which requires the chief audit executives or heads of internal audit to share information, to coordinate activities, and consider relying on the work of other internal and external assurance providers to ensure that we have proper coverage, but to also minimize duplication of effort as we work. So it's from that background that I will be speaking. Now, in terms of the rationale for aligned assurance or for combined assurance, just like I have alluded to earlier, there are a number of things. Apart from the challenges like overlap of scope, like absence of prioritization, different audit results or conclusions, we will realize that right now the world is a global village, and there are a number of complexities that come together with that. Apart from supply chains, we have business units, we have organizations that are operating in different geographical locations. So how do we work together without duplicating effort, even beyond our organizations if you're working for a group company? The second rationale for aligned assurance is that as organizations grow and as technology grows, as digitization grows, all our institutions are having a lot of information. And this information is seated in different places. And therefore, we are going to be having different reports from the different systems. But how do we as assurance providers put all that together so that we can give useful insights to the decision makers and therefore support the achievement of our organization objectives, visions, missions, and values? And then the other thing to note is that we have a number of processes, we have a number of goals and benefits that accrue from aligned assurance, but these are not properly appreciated by all parties that are involved in aligned assurance. So just breaking it down, what exactly is aligned assurance or combined assurance, or we may want to call it integrated risk assurance? It is pretty much, I like the aligned because combining is just putting things together, but it is more of putting together efforts from the risk management perspective across the 3 lines roles. As of today, they have gone to 5 line roles, including the external assurance providers. But pretty much it is all of us doing what we can to ensure that the risk exposures of our organizations are properly taken care of. And therefore, we have an effective control environment, and we have uniform risk reporting to those who are responsible for direction of the organizations, but also the day-to-day running of the institutions that we work for or that we have invested in. And then the other thing about aligned assurance is that what it is aiming for is not just putting together or just combining reports or effort from the different assurance providers, but what we are aiming at is delivering deeper insights that are going to support decision-making, that are going to support senior management and the board as they play their roles, and therefore we will be able to improve governance, risk management, and control, as was indicated in the subject of discussion today. And finally, this represents the ultimate level of coordination. And this coordination includes scheduling activities together or assignments together, consolidating plans, consolidating reports, or sharing terminologies and frameworks, and use of common technologies and other aspects. Now, just to be clear again in terms of the parties that we are speaking to here, beyond the assurance providers, excuse me, beyond the assurance providers, we have parties that are involved in this. So we have management that is responsible for ensuring that we have the right processes and controls and procedures in place to minimize or to mitigate the risk exposures to the institution. And then the second category that we have is the internal assurance providers, and that is audit, that is control rigor, that is quality assurance, that is the legal team, we have compliance, we may have IT as well, because that is going to be the source of the reports that we are going to be using. And then we also have the external assurance providers, and that is pretty much external auditors, consultants, and any other third parties that we may be working with. But this loop would not be complete if we do not speak about the board, if we do not speak about the board committees as well. So it is pretty much not an internal audit thing. It's not just an assurance thing, but it takes care of everybody virtually within the organization. And the good things about aligned assurance is that if we all follow the concept of aligned assurance or combined assurance, then we are going to minimize overlap. You will not have internal audits looking at, for example, HR, and then the risk department is also looking at that. Control rigor is also coming to look at the same things. You have the risk team also looking at it from it, looking at the same thing. But if we're going to give value, then we can look at the same thing from different perspectives. Same subject of HR, but looking at it from different scope point of view. Probably internal audit is looking at planning for the HR. Risk is looking at probably onboarding, so that together, once we have all done what we have to do, we are protecting the organization, we are protecting the investors' value, we're protecting the shareholders' value, or we are protecting the interests of the public and all the stakeholders that are involved within the organization. The other thing will be streamlined reporting of the results to management and the board or other stakeholders. And that will therefore reduce the workload of not only the internal audits or the internal assurance groups, but also the oversight. I happen to sit on some boards, but if you're reading the same things from different assurance providers, and I'm assuming I'm participating in different committees, then you save time. If the reports are the same, then you can only read a consolidated version, or you read the same thing from different points of view, and therefore that is going to give enough information that is useful for not only decision making, but giving guidance to the institution. The other bit is improved risk management, because we are focusing on the critical risks that matter within the organization, and we're doing this in a cost-effective way. And then finally, combining insights from all the assurance providers can unlock new risks, because what we are looking for, as earlier mentioned, are the deeper insights. So what are the emerging issues that are coming up as a result of the work of the combined assurance providers? Or what are when we join the dots, what is it that we are seeing probably that we're not able to see before? And this can come through aligned assurance or combined assurance. And then we'll have a common framework that we are all aligned to, or that we subscribe to. And we have a single source of truth in terms of information, especially if we are relying on the use of technology. And then we'll have coordinated and relevant efforts focusing on key risk exposures to support oversight, like I earlier mentioned. We'll have comprehensive and prioritized tracking of remedial actions. Right now where I work, internal audit is the one that follows up remedial action of all exceptions that come from the different assurance providers. I know of organizations where it is the compliance function doing this. So that minimizes on the duplication of efforts, and we're able to have coordinated improvements or deal with weaknesses within the organization. And then I already talked about working in silos. And then we are going to have a common view, not exactly the same. It does not mean that when we are running with combined assurance, then we don't have divergent views. The views are there, but we have common themes of the things that we are dealing with in terms of issues, in terms of risks, and in terms of controls across the organization. And this supports reporting. And then we build confidence in our stakeholders as assurance providers. And these stakeholders being the board, the committees, and all the stakeholders that benefit from the work that we do. And collectively, when we do this, we add more value to the organization. And looking at the theme for today is an effective approach that is going to give us value addition from the combined assurance perspective. And I see this as a key benefit that will come to the respective organizations once we approach aligned assurance from the right perspective. The other benefit that comes with it is internal audit leadership, because internal audit has a broad focus of the business. We virtually look at everything, or auditors look at virtually everything. And if if the other assurance providers are also looking at risk from a broad perspective where they sit, then that leadership will be given. But usually, because internal audit looks at the entire organization and a number of processes, will benefit if you have the leadership taken up by that function. But that depends on the circumstances of the different organizations. So what is the journey to effective aligned assurance? And I'll take it step by step. The first thing to do is to establish a baseline. What is the status within the organization? Do we have activities that are coordinated already? If there are any. And on the other hand, do we have activities that are not coordinated? That is the starting point. So then we know what is it that we are going to coordinate or what is it that we are going to work together on, rather than picking it from a blind point of view. Then the second step is to outline and define the objectives. What is it that we anticipate to benefit from aligned assurance? If those objectives are not clear, then we will not be able to track progress. But then even the stakeholders, because they do not know what is in it for them, they may not give it the focus that it deserves. So it is important that we put together the objectives. And from my experience, I have seen this summarized in the Combined Assurance Committee Charter, or terms of reference that guide the operations of the Combined Assurance Committee. And then we need to obtain involvement of other assurance providers. If it is internal audit taking the lead, it is important that all the other assurance providers are brought on board. And it is important that we become patient to explain to these other stakeholders or the other assurance providers what combined assurance is all about. I have had the opportunity of starting this concept in, I think, 3 organizations now. But what I have realized is at the start, when we are introducing the concept of aligned assurance, it is important that we take some time to explain the concept to the different assurance providers, to the legal team, the external auditors, if you have control rigor as a function, risk management, so everybody gets on board. If they do not appreciate what is going to come out of this, then they will not cooperate and the project will not take off. Then it is important that we communicate, we educate and obtain the sponsorship of key stakeholders. And here we're speaking about the executive management or the top leadership of the organization and the board or the audit committee or the relevant committee of the board. If we do not have support from the top, then sometimes the projects don't work out. But if everybody sees that the MD, the accounting officer, the board members have bought into the concept of combined assurance or aligned assurance, then it becomes an issue of tone from the top. And it is easy to rally all the other people to support the project. But also there could be resources that are required. And it is these key sponsors that are going to make that approval. And then the other thing to note is that combined assurance is not a one-off. It is not a one-time activity. It is continuous, but it is also good to take it in a step-by-step process, step one step at a time. If we want to do everything together or everything at a go, then the project may fail, but taking it in steps, and that will depend on the plan that we have put together as the Combined Assurance Committee or the Aligned Assurance Committee. Like any project, it is possible that there's going to be resistance. There are those who will resist because they do not see the value that comes from it, but there are those who will resist just because they don't want it, or there are those who will resist because they don't like the people that are leading the project. So having a change management plan and planning upfront how we are going to deal with any pushbacks, but also take advantage of the support that comes up quickly from the different stakeholders so that the project takes off. And then finally, measuring the success against the terms of reference or the objectives. that will have been put together in step 2 is critical. As assurance providers, we very well know that anything that is not measured is probably not done. But this does not come easy. There will be challenges to achieving effective combined assurance. And one of them is if there is lack of clear leadership. If we don't have somebody who is patient, somebody who understands the concept, somebody who is willing to engage the different stakeholders, the sponsors, then the project may fail and the team will quickly lose steam, they'll lose focus, and that will be the end of the project. And yet they, like we have seen from the benefits, there's a lot of potential that can come through combined assurance. So what is it that we can do? I have just suggested the leadership of internal audit as is guided in Standard 2050 of the IPPA. The second challenge is obtaining stakeholder buy-in. Sometimes not everybody will appreciate. I hope you can still see me. Power has just gone off where I am at. But if you can still see me, I'll just continue. Kefa, if you can just confirm that to me. He's just managing this from where we are at. Okay, but I'll proceed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So it is difficult, sometimes it's difficult obtaining because there is this misconception that because we are introducing aligned assurance or combined assurance, then we are asking for more people, we are asking for additional structures, which may not be the case. So communication is critical so that everybody appreciates what we are trying to achieve and they appreciate the benefits that will come out of this, and also appreciate that they also appreciate the implications of what we are getting into. And also for them to appreciate that anybody who is on the combined assurance team or the agenda is not to isolate ourselves and do our own things, but it is about working together. It is just picking it from the independence point of view. And then if there is no visibility into the gaps, even when we have strong assurance, we will not have the results come through. There are cases where you'll find an organization that has invested in time, in resources on this assurance, but still we get conflicting issues, conflicting reports, gaps in coverage of the risk for the organizations, especially the key risks. And then we find that we have significant control failures. So this is something that is within our control as the assurance providers. And one of the things that can help here is having an assurance map. And on the next slide, I just try to show what an assurance map looks like. So in this example, we have the different roles, the first line roles, which is management. We have second line roles, which is more of compliance, risk, control rigor, third line role, which is internal audit, and then the fourth is the external auditors and other third-party providers. And then on this other side, we have the key risks or the key areas where we think the organization will be hit if no action is taken. And this will depend on the risk assessment that has been done within the organization. So then we try to map out and say, who is taking care of what across this risk landscape? So for example, where you see green, then it means we have the first line roles doing so well in terms of managing the risk for financial reporting and financial controls as an example. And then internal audit is also looking at that, and external auditors are also looking at that. And then if you look at legal, we have the second line roles looking at that, treasury, and then we also have health and safety being considered by other third-party providers. So then it gives us a view on the areas that are not properly taken care of, especially the regs. So then as the aligned assurance team or the combined assurance team, we take a call to say, what is it that we are going to do about the red areas? Who's going to take care of that, of what? So that collectively, once we all execute our plans, we will protect the organization from significant risk exposures and surprises that may come through, especially those that can be envisaged. Now, the other challenge is coming up with a common framework, because each of us picks their mandates from different points of view. So it may be difficult to actually put everything together and just have one framework. But the solution is that we can break down the big goals into smaller goals to say we have themes. We have themes around risk management and what is it that we're going to do about that. Probably establish a common framework, establish the risk scales so that you don't have different risk ratings across the organization, but we are all using the same scale. We ensure that everything that we are doing is tied into the strategic objectives of the institution or the mandate. And then we can do the same for control compliance or issues or any other category that you may have come up with. Then the other challenge is that we have decentralized systems. And because they are decentralized, then it means you're picking information from different places, and we all know what happens if you're picking information from different sources of truth. Not all the information will be the same. And using technology to support combined assurance or aligned assurance is something that is going to be very useful. I just picked up the results from the results that were done by the audit board poll in 2021, and they were trying to see how departments are managing approaches to systems or to information or collaboration. And only 34% were using a centralized point of view or a single source of truth. 57% had decentralized or multiple systems where we're picking records, and about 9% were not sure about what is happening. But if we take advantage of technology, that is a good opportunity that we have. Now, in terms of value addition, again, picking it from experience, what are the key points that we can take away with us tonight in terms of creating value from the point of combined assurance or aligned assurance? Is that governance requirements are going to vary, and circumstances are going to vary by organization, by geography, by country, by region. So we need to look at everything else that we have talked about, but tailor it to our own organization, because what works for me in Umeme probably will not work for you elsewhere. Or what works in banking maybe is not going to work in an NGO. So let's pick the concepts, let's understand the concepts and apply them effectively. Then the second bit is, like I have earlier said, having successful aligned assurance is a journey. It is not a one-off, and it is not something that is achieved overnight. So we need to bring everybody on board. We need to be mindful of the resource requirements in here. We need to be mindful that probably we do not all appreciate the concept of aligned assurance from the same point of view, and bringing everybody on board is important. Taking a look back to see what were the objectives that we had and assessing our achievements and taking lessons therefrom is important. Then culture and behavior, tone at the top is important if the aligned assurance projects are going to take off, and therefore we need to start there. What is it that we can do? Speak about it at the board meetings. Engage the directors, engage the board chairs, engage executive management. So we are all on the same page. And I believe once somebody sees the value that is in it for the organization or for them, they will be ready to support the aligned assurance project. And then it is important that we have representation from the different assurance providers so that we move together or collectively and we make decisions that are going to be useful to the organization as a whole, and not just picking it from the point of view of a few assurance providers. The more aligned the different stakeholders are, then the better for all of us. And alignment in terms of the tone, in terms of the language, in terms of the messaging to the entire organization, in terms of understanding the concept of risk management. And then finally, it is important to have a shared or repository of information that is centralized. I already spoke about the single source of truth. So I will not repeat that. Now, in terms of the different approaches, again, I have just put together some ways of how combined assurance can support organizational objectives so that we eradicate assurance fatigue, so that we concentrate on the risks that matter most, so that we have a common view and all the other things that I have talked about, but most important that we work effectively, efficiently, and we support our institutions and organizations to achieve the aspirations that we are chasing. And then in terms of the different approaches that we can use, on the left-hand side, I have different ways that we can support our organizations. But then on the right-hand side, there are different ways of how we can pick up implementation or execution of combined assurance. So one approach is to have a separate audit function. And I'm picking this from the survey that was done by the IIA through the common body of knowledge at the Institute of Internal Auditors. One is to have a separate internal audit function, and then we have integrated audits, we have integrated projects that we do together, or we have integrated processes, and we are sharing information. The other one is to have all these assurance functions put together. The danger with that is that we will miss out on the unique values or the unique benefits that come from each of these. But again, we need to look at this on a case-by-case basis and the circumstances of the organization. I have seen organizations as they are growing, and I remember in one of the institutions that I worked with, when I was head of internal audit, but I also supported the creation of the risk management function. Up to such a point, when we recruited and set up the function for risk management, and then I handed over. So certain things may be done differently depending on the circumstances of the organization. But if we are going to combine, personally, I am not for combining everything together forever. If it is combining, maybe it is for a short period of time until the constraints that are in the organization are dealt with. Now, in terms of assurance maturity, there are different forms. We can measure ourselves to see, are we at the conformance level? Are we at the enhanced level? Are we at the optimized level? Or are we at the combined assurance or aligned assurance level, which I think everybody would want to have. So at the point of conformance, we are just coordinating activities. We have leadership of internal audit, and they determine what we do in terms of assurance. We are maintaining different frameworks, different ratings, for example, for risk management, and then each of us is working individually on their own. When we are at the enhanced level, then we are sharing issues, we are sharing reports, we are sharing ideas, we are sharing our plans, we are scheduling things or activities together. At the point of combining, then we are consolidating, and then we're working as a group. We are sharing technologies, we are picking information from a single source of truth. And then the best point of view that we should all aim for is having combined assurance. And because of the previous slides that I have spoken to, I will not go deep into that. But I thought this slide is important just to show us in terms of the growth or the excellency of maturity or the maturity of the execution of aligned assurance. Now, in conclusion, the first thing that I will say is for us to deliver value, we need to go beyond just giving assurance or oversight over controls, over risk management or over governance within our organization, pretty much just implementing our approved plans. We need to take a step further and step into the point or the position or the space of aligned assurance, because that is what is going to make the difference between good and great assurance providers. It is important that we deliver coordinated and relevant assurance efforts that are not directed to everything, but the critical risks that matter within the organization. The challenges that leadership is grappling with. What is our contribution to that? And then demonstrating commitment to enhance our controls, considering reporting in dash form format or any form that is going to give insights and not the 100 pages of reports. But how are we summarizing our reports, say in a pager or in one slide that is going to bring out all the critical insights to the organization, so that when we come to the table, if we are called upon as assurance providers to participate in conversations within the organization, we are coming with meaningful contributions and not just being there to say, oh, the assurance provider participated. Or you are in there, and if they ask for your opinion, you say, I'm aligned to what everybody else has said. Or I am okay. Everything you have said is fine. We need to demonstrate that we're actually bringing value to the boardrooms or to the discussions. And then the outcomes, the way that we are going to measure our value is when the outcomes from the work that we have done is informing decisions within the organization or the institutions. And we can actually see and say, because of this recommendation, because of this outcome, because of the insights that we gave as assurance providers, 1, 2, 3 things have actually improved within our respective institutions. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your kind attention. I appreciate the invitation for me to share my thoughts in terms of aligned or combined assurance. And I hope that we have been able to pick 1 or 2 things that are going to be helpful to us as we take this journey of supporting our respective institutions to succeed, to excel, to transform, and not just remain the way we found them. And we're just giving compliance reports against laws, regulations, policies, and procedures, but we are giving value that is going to demonstrate change within our institutions. Thank you so much, and I will hand back to you, Kefa.
Wow. Thanks very much, Ms. Doreen Muteve.
Pleasure.
I'm sure we have not just picked 1 or 2 issues or 2 points. We've gone out with quite a handful or a bunch or dozens of points that I'm sure with online viewers and listeners will be using to make sure that they perform in a better way in their respective organizations. Thank you once again for such a wonderful presentation, we get now into the question and answer section. We so far have 1 question, actually about 2. I encourage everyone who has a question to punch it in the question and answer section. Okay, our first question comes from Emmanuel Wanyama. Okay, and she appreciates you for such a wonderful presentation. He appreciates you for such a wonderful presentation, and his number 1 question is, how do we ensure we have the entire list or representation of assurance providers, for example, in the NGO sector, where the control roles are not clearly separated? Okay, that's his question number 1. He adds on another. Maybe let me repeat number 1 question. How do we ensure we have the entire list or representation of assurance providers in cases of the NGOs sector where the control roles are not clearly defined or separated? 2, how do we increase the reliability of assurance output coming from the second and first line assurance providers? Okay, those are so far the questions that we have. Maybe I'll give you time to respond to those as more do come in. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kefa, and thank you, Emmanuel, for the question. I believe you're asking this from the internal audit point of view, looking at the question, that is my understanding. But the question 1 says, how do we ensure we have the entire list or representation of assurance providers, for example, in NGO sector where the control roles are not clearly separated? In my presentation or in my earlier submission, I spoke about understanding the circumstances of your organization. I know when institutions are starting or when they are constrained with resources or they are constrained with people, there is a tendency of merging a number of roles. And when those roles are combined, then it impacts segregation of duties, and therefore it is going to impact the assurance. But what I can advise in such circumstances is let's communicate, let's educate, let's understand the unique circumstances. Why is it that the roles are combined? Is it because of constraints? And if it is because of constraints and we're advising this organization and the leadership is right, then the expectation is that this organization will grow or this institution will grow or this NGO will actually expand. And when the resources come in, then these constraints will be dealt with and will have appropriate governance structures within the organization. And therefore the roles will be separated. So if those are the cases, then what I would advise is appreciate the constraints, have conversations with management to appreciate how these constraints are going to be dealt with, but also inform them, have conversations to inform them that where we are at, this is what we are missing out when these roles are combined together. And this is what we are benefiting from that. I have found out from experience that rather than going and telling people you must do ABCD, give both positions and say, if these roles are combined, these are the advantages, but these are the constraints that come together with it. If these roles are separated, this is what the organization will be benefiting, or this is what the NGO will be benefiting. And then somebody appreciates that it is not just because internal audit wants it to be done that way, but there are values, there are benefits, there are good things that will come out of it. But if it is just complacency, and the leadership doesn't want to support good governance, and they don't want to support roles being together so that the wrong things can happen within the organization, what I would advise is engage executive management. If they are not being supportive, engage the audit committee or the board members. And at that point in time, you will have done your responsibility and given the views and the guidance that is needed. How do we increase reliability of assurance output coming from the second and first line assurance providers? I hear you. If the first and second line roles are not effective, if they are not good, then there's a lot of work that internal audit is doing, or there's a lot of work that the third line roles, the fourth line roles, and the fifth line roles are going to be doing. And you end up taking a lot of time looking at operational matters within the institution rather than dealing with strategic aspects. And it does not mean that when you're focusing on strategic risks, you're leaving the medium and the low risk rated areas to deteriorate. But the advice is the same way we review the other areas within the organization, the same way we review the different processes within the organization, it is important that we also look at the quality or the quality of work that is actually being done by the first line and second line roles, especially second line roles, because by default, we'll be checking what the first line roles are doing because that is what management actually does. But especially the second line roles, incorporating that into the audit plans and looking at those areas and giving recommendations as well, or making conclusions as to whether the second line role is effective or not effective. The other way of doing it is in each review that you have done. I remember one of the institutions that I worked with, this is what we're doing. In each of the audit engagements that we would do, we would have a component that checks the quality of the work that has been done by the second line role in that area that we have scoped, and therefore we give an opinion. So that the second line roles are also as effective as probably the third line roles, if the third line roles are also effective. The other approach that you can take is what we call, we used to call it auditor guest approach, where you bring in people from the second line roles into the third line role space, that is internal audit, to work with internal audit to appreciate the good methodologies that we have, especially from the IIA perspective, take the lessons, and then they will take that back with them after a certain point of time, maybe 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, they will take those lessons back with them and then they will be able to do a good job. However, when we are bringing people into the guest auditor program, it's not just everybody. It is the good ones and those that are going to add value to the organization. And the objectives have to be specific. What are the key things that they want to get out of this? How are we going to measure the outcomes? And for how long is this going to work? Then I see a question or comment from Esther. Kefa, if you may allow, I'll just pick it up, unless you want to use a different approach. But I can see it. So should I pick it up?
It is okay.
Okay. Esther, congratulations on your achievements for CIA. I follow you in other forums. So thank you for the presentation. I agree combined assurance is good, however, needs maturity of all assurance teams to ensure that information on work is shared without withholding some for purposes of fearing that another will be better. Again, this goes, how is this maturity going to be promoted and ensured? It starts with the first things. Remember the journey that I spoke about and the steps they are in. It is important that everybody who is coming into this project or onto this team appreciates what is in it for them as the department, the function, or the assurance providers, and what is in it, what is good about it for the organization. Or is it that internal audit just wants to comply with standard 2050 and say we coordinate and leave it at that? So having those conversations and being patient and not saying, by the way, for me, I'm independent, you don't ask me such questions because I am audit, no. But being patient and being available and being understanding and listening to appreciate the concerns of the other parties so that together we come out with a win-win position. Once that happens, then it will not be about me doing a good job and somebody doing a shoddy piece of work so that I shine and they don't shine. At the end of the day, what we are looking at is each of the assurance providers doing a good job, and collectively, we are protecting our NGOs, we are protecting the public sector, we are protecting the ministries, departments, agencies, we are protecting the commercial institutions, and we shine, and the organization transforms. Because when you manage risk properly, the outcome is this organization is going to succeed and shine. I hope Emmanuel and Esther, that submission helps. I do not see any other questions or comments, so I'll hand back to you, Kefa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Doreen Tebe, for such wonderful answers that you've relayed so well. Thanks to Esther and Emma for the questions that you've put forward. I hope we have more questions coming up. In the next few minutes, we'll give you a little bit more minutes to forward the questions, just in case you have any. However, in case there isn't, then we shall move on. Allow me add my voice to that of Ruth Mutebe to congratulate Esther Shen upon her achievement of CIA. It is not an easy feat. I personally am on the way, but we are coming up. I think we have no more questions. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, members of ISACA and those who are not members, thank you very much for joining us and listening to Miss Doreen Ruth Mutebe for such a wonderful presentation to us this evening. And join me in offering a hand of cyber hand clap to Miss Doreen Mutebe for such a wonderful presentation. At this juncture, allow me to invite back Mr. John Chukubye to take us through the announcement. Thank you very much once again, Ms. Ruth Doreen Mutebe. Over to you, John.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Ruth. Ms. Ruth Doreen Mutebe for dissecting the topic excellently. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation to come and speak to us and to share knowledge with us. As Isaka Kampala chapter, I can say we are very honored to host you, and we look forward to hosting you more and more again. Thank you very much. Our moderator for the day, Mr. Kefa Tusubira. Thank you very much for doing the work excellently well. We highly appreciate you, and we value your contribution to the chapter. Members, allow me to also thank our members from sister organizations like IIA. I've seen some on call. Then from ICPAU, I've seen some on call. ISACA, Kenya chapter. ISACA, South Africa chapter. Thank you very much, members, for joining us, and we look forward to having more meaningful engagements with you. As and when we have more webinars, please join us. We always welcome you. And when you have the webinars too, please invite us. We shall always be there. My takeaway for the webinar, there is something Ms. Ruth Doreen has talked about. Combined assurance makes the difference between good and great assurance. Personally, I've never believed in internal audit working in silos. There is that coordination. Okay. Most times we tend to hide into this aspect of, we need to be independent and all that. But at the end of the day, you find that we're all working towards achieving specific organizational goals and objectives. So the more we work together, the better we shall provide assurance to the organization, and the better we shall come in to see that the risks are managed within an acceptable level. Thank you very much for that, moderator and speaker for the day. Let's go to the announcements. Okay, thank you very much. So members on call and those and the non-members, this is to inform you that we have our 12th annual East Africa Information Security Conference from 27th to 29th September at Peak Resort, Munyonyo. The theme for this year's conference is Digital Trust, Embracing Change, Empowering Leadership. Our attendance fees, we have the virtual mode, where the members will pay 799,000 and the non-members will pay 899,000. In person, the members will pay 1 million and the non-members will pay 1,100,000. So members and non-members on call, please let's make sure that let's register so that we attend that conference. And for the decision makers that are on the call, please, I request you to send through your members, send through your team members to join us for this conference. Then two, embrace the spirit of giving at Isaka Kampala Chapter Community Day that will be held on the 7th October 2023. Join us in uplifting our community through volunteering and contributions. Your support, big or small, can transform lives. To contribute, simply send your donations to that MTN merchant code. Let's create a wave of compassion and generosity. Thank you very much. Those are announcements for the day. And for the members and members and non-members that are intending to join us for the conference, please follow for more information on our socials. We keep sharing more information there each day that passes by. And the registration has been made very simple. You can simply scan a QR code that is that is always posted on the flyer. Please scan it and register. Allow me at this juncture to hand over to Rita to take us to the next agenda. Thank you very much. Rita?
Hello, yes, John, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Thank you very much, John, for the good work done. We really appreciate your work. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, let me just go straight to what I've been told to do. On call, if you check this side of the panelists, we have Miss Florence Nakalanzi, who is our new executive secretary. She joined us this week. Allow me to welcome her to the Isaka Kampala chapter family. Thank you for joining us, Miss Florence. And Florence will be managing the secretariat responsibilities, and she's going to be providing high quality services to the chapter members and help the board in the implementation of the chapter strategy plan. We have high hopes in her, and we believe she's going to take the chapter to the next level. She'll be using the email address administrator@isaka.co.ug. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Miss Florence Nakalanzi. Please, Florence, turn on your video and say hello to all the members. Thank you.
Yes, good evening, members. I'm Florence Nakalanzi, and I'm very glad to join the Isaka team. Yes, my video currently is having an issue. Unfortunately, I'm unable to turn it on, but I'm really excited and looking forward to working with everyone to move Isaka Kampala chapter to the next level. Yes, thank you, Rita, for welcoming me, and I'm really looking forward to working with you and everyone on the team.
Okay, thank you very much. You're most welcome aboard. Thank you very much. In the same way, we want to thank our speaker, Ms. Doreen Motebe. Thank you for the insightful presentation, as well as our moderator. On call, we have representation from our sister chapter, none other than South Africa chapter, Mr. Kenneth William. Thank you for joining us, the president of Isaka South Africa chapter. Thank you very much. We also have Dr. Alexis, who is the past president of South Florida. Thank you for joining us. We have our past president, Ms. Glory Nsima. Thank you for joining us. We value your presence, and thank you for making Isaka Kampala chapter your home and always being there for us. I myself, Glory was my mentor in the role that I'm handling right now. Thank you for the work done. I will always commend her for that. We also have some executives who joined us this evening. We can't take your presence for granted. Ms. Josephine Olok, thank you for always being there for us. We have Mark Omona. Thank you very much. Amongst the board members, we have Mr. Nkwasibe Leonard, our IT governance director. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for being with us this evening. I also want to recognize the presence and the work being done by the committee members who are here on call. We have Mr. Lloyd Sentongo, he's the Education and Events Committee member, Ms. Diana Gaba, she'll take committee member, Mr. Bernard Arinaitre, Marketing and Comms Committee. We have Ms. Kefa Tusubira, Past Participations Director, and as well as the Events Committee member. We have our very own Mr. Johnny Chikubye. That one, I can't say it all. You've always had a lot from him. Thank you very much for the work done. We appreciate you. Our president is not here sending his apologies. He's held up somewhere, so he's requested him to give the closing remarks unless otherwise. So once again, I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Doreen Teve for the insightful presentation. We are once again honored to host you here, and we appreciate the collaboration between ISACA and IIA, both IA International and IA Uganda. And I didn't hear Doreen to mention the CIA challenge, but she didn't come out, but I believe it will come out at the right time.
Okay, and just a second, sorry to interrupt. As you're recognizing people, I see you have Jean-Claude Mucho from IIA Rwanda. He is on the call. And then I also see my very good friend Mwelwa from Zambia. So you have a number of other dignitaries on the call here.
Wow,
Probably some. Those are the few that I could recognize. Yeah, thank you.
What a collaboration. That's what they call ISACA collaboration with the sister organization or bodies. Thank you very much. We appreciate your collaboration, and I believe we shall have many more than this. Please, Doreen, when you reach out to you or any of your members on AFIA, please, we hope to get more. Thank you. I like that. Thank you very much. We shall keep the fire burning. To me, this was a very important topic on my side, and I believe on my colleagues in the control functions, being the fact that it's essential for organizations to gain a holistic view of their risk and control environment, and to, of course, to make informed decisions and comply with the regulations and build stakeholder confidence. And as well, you know, combined assurance helps organizations become more agile and resilient in the face of the ever-changing business landscape. Thank you very much for dissecting it very well. And to me, when you talk about what you talked about, my takeaway this evening was to deliver the most value, we need to go beyond existing practice of overseeing controls, risks, and governance within the organizations. And she also mentioned that combined assurance makes the difference between good and bad assurance and internal auditing. Thank you very much for that, Doreen. We appreciate. And we are really grateful. We hope we shall have more and more of this, and you keep your doors open for us when we tap on you. Thank you very much. Having said that, I wish to close the webinar unless there is anything. Thank you very much. Please, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, members, and have a good evening to all of us.
Oh, Mr. Wanyama is on the call. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Mr. Wanyama. I see he's on the call.
Mr. Wanyama, Emmanuel.
No, Wanyama Bernard, the president of ISACA.
He's on the call, but he's right now in South Africa, and he doesn't have a connect.
All right, no worries. Thanks, everybody, and have a very lovely evening.
That's why he failed to. That's why he told me to close it.
Okay, cool. Bye for now.
Yeah, he's on the call, but he can't speak where he is right now.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Okay.